What is going on, everyone? It's OxxyOG, and today we're going to be talking about trinkets, specifically secondary stat trinkets or strength-related trinkets. This is going to be from a Fury Warrior perspective, but this is applicable, I'm sure, to a couple of classes, and will be focused mainly on a Mythic Plus setting and their performance. Some of my rankings may be swayed a little bit by how their raid performance could be. I will elaborate on that when we get to them. Uh, but most of this is just based off of my own testing. I did each trinket equipped. I did a 1 minute and 30 second, like 5 target dummy hitting just to see where my damage would lie. And then also just kind of went off of the tooltips, what they say, what they seem like they would do. None of this is based off of Sims, but more so just how it feels. So let's get into it. First, we're going to be talking about the Perfidious Projector. So over here on the right, I'll always have the snapshot of the one we're talking about. This is a haste secondary stat trinket. Basically, it's a 2 minute on use, and when you use it, it's going to just like zap either a single target for the damage that it says, or it'll zap 5 targets or up. It'll do increased damage based on how many targets are in the pack, up to 5. So it does a pretty decent amount of damage on demand, but the haste is what feels really good. So we're gonna place this one in A. I did like testing the projector. It feels good. And I think it'll be a pretty competitive trinket. Next, we're going to talk about the Incorporeal Warpclaw. It's a mouthful. So with the Incorporeal Warpclaw, it's going to be basically a chance to have a Warpclaw like dash through the enemies and do a certain amount of damage. This one drops from Ecodome Aldani as one of the rewards there. I didn't get a chance to test this one because I never got it to drop, but based on what I'm assuming the proc rate will be, like estimate, and also the damage that it's saying that it'll do, it doesn't really seem all that great to me. I'm going to be placing this one in C tier for now. The damage just didn't seem like it was going to be all that crazy. So, yeah, Warpclaw going C tier. Next, we're going to be talking about Solea's Secret Technique. This one here is from Gambit, Tazavesh Gambit. So basically, this trinket, you use it on a party member, and based on their highest secondary stat, you get like X amount of that stat, and they also get a little bit too. So it's a little bit of a non-selfish trinket where you're giving a little bit of what you could get maybe from another trinket to someone else in your party, but you also do get a pretty sizable amount of secondary stat from it. So with that being said, I actually really like Solea's, and I always liked it when it first initially came out, and so I'm going to be placing it in high A tier currently. Next, we'll talk about the Footbomb dispenser, automatic Footbomb dispenser. So this one is just, you have a chance basically. It does have speed on it, by the way, but you do have a chance to drop like foot bombs onto the field, and as you run into them, they like kick them into the target that you're facing. When I tested this one, I checked the damage after I did like a 1 minute and 30 pool just to see how it was looking, and it was basically non-existent. I think it was like 0.7 percent or something like that, or 0.7 mil. It really wasn't much. So with that being said, I'm actually going to place this one in C as well. I really wasn't a big fan of this. Okay, next, talk about the Unyielding Netherprism. So this trinket here, it drops from Fractalis on the raid. I believe the 6th boss, the boss with the walls that get put out if you've seen any raid testing. So the way that this trinket works is as you're in combat and when you're using abilities, you build up stacks, and you can build up to 15 stacks. And for each stack, when you use it, which it only has a 20-second cooldown, so you could technically use it every 20 seconds. You just won't be cashing in on a lot of stacks, but basically it'll give you, it's like 3,500 strength or right around there per stack. So you save up 15 stacks, for example, you're getting like an insane amount of strength. So one thing that I have lightly against this trinket is that on the opener, like in the beginning of a Mythic Plus dungeon, you don't have any stacks. So in the very first pool, which in many of these dungeons, the first pool is going to be like a banger, like you're going to be popping off. You won't really get much out of this trinket. In my experience, you typically get around 12 to 13 stacks of it every minute and 30 seconds for your avatar window. So after the first initial pull, you just stack it up and then you're just going to use it basically on cooldown with avatar. In that circumstance, it's pretty good. So just barring the first pull, and then also the on-demand damage, so it has a chance to like do some AoE damage into the pack. That actually was doing like 3.5% of my overall damage in a lot of keys. So I do really like this trinket. It does some good damage. I'm not a big fan of how it is in the beginning of packs, but throughout an entire dungeon, it does pretty good. So I'm actually going to throw this into S tier. I do enjoy it. I think it's a good competitor and a good option. So we're going to put Netherprism in S. All right. Next, we're going to talk about Signet of the Priory. So with Signet of the Priory, basically you use it, you get a lot of your highest secondary stat, and then anyone else that's using it also gets secondary stat. It's a good trinket. It just gives you good secondary stats. It performed pretty well, like in the top, I think 7 trinkets on Sims for most people in like on Blood Mallet back in the patch that it was relevant, or last patch. So with it being secondary stat trinket, I'm gonna place this one up in A tier, right next to Solia's Secret Technique. Solia's is just way more consistent, where Signet is gonna be a 2-minute cooldown to get the secondary stat. So I think Solia's a bit better of a choice, but Signet is still a really good choice for secondary stat trinket. Okay, next let's talk about the Astral Antenna. So basically, this trinket has a chance to grant you just like a lump sum of crit strike every X amount of time. It's like a proc rate type thing, and it'll give it to you for 10 seconds. It says multiple applications may overlap, but in all my testing, I wasn't getting any like overlapping where it was 2 at the same time. It would only proc enough to let me have it for 10 seconds and then another set of 10 seconds. So I'm not really sure like what was going on there. Maybe I just was unlucky. It's possible, but the damage actually did feel really good from this trinket, and just going off the assumption that I was just getting unlucky, I will say that this one I want to put in A tier. It felt good. The crit strike feels good, and really makes your Thunder Blasts hit hard when it does proc. So looking from a Mythic Plus setting, I like the antenna a lot. All right, let's talk about the Chaotic Nethergate next. So this trinket just recently got buffed. Oh, sorry. This trinket just recently got buffed. It's a mastery secondary stat trinket, and basically when you go into a pack, you use it, and it just puts down a big pool that just does a ton of damage, but also heals you. So the healing as Fury is kind of irrelevant. It can be good in like a very niche scenarios where you're taking big AoE damage. Think like Dawnbreaker, second boss, big AoE pulsing, and you use it to get some extra healing. I don't know, but usually we have no issues living those kinds of things as Fury, so irrelevant. The damage itself, it seems to be uncapped. Against 5 targets, it was no good. Like, it was not much at all. I was thinking of it from a perspective of like Tazavesh Gambit or Halls of Atonement, like dungeons where you're going to have massive pools and you'll get that huge damage, but I still don't think it'll amount to much. So with that being said, I'm going to be putting it in C tier. The damage was The mastery is cool, so I don't think it's F. Like, I don't mind having the mastery secondary stat on the trinket, but the healing kind of irrelevant, and the damage was basically non-existent, so not a big fan of the Nethergate. Next is going to be the Soulbreaker's Sigil. So Soulbreaker's Sigil, basically with this one, you just have a chance to do just like an amount of damage to a target, and then if they die, you get versatility as like a reward for killing them. Not a big fan of this one. The verse it's not the greatest secondary stat for us to be getting as a reward from the trinket, so didn't really like this. Didn't even care to test it too much. I don't know the proc rate on the fracturing their soul, but the proc damage wasn't really all that much anyway, so it's it didn't seem all that great, and the versatility is kind of meh compared to what you can get from other trinkets. So that one's going to be going in F tier, and it is going to be staying there. So, okay, next we have the Cursed Stone Idol. So when PTR first began, this trinket was like nuts. The amount, so basically, it's a 1 second channel. When you channel, it increases your crit and then slams the earth and does like a big amount of AoE damage. And then based on how many people you hit, it increases it by like an interval amount up to a certain amount. And I want to say at the beginning, it was like 30,000 crit that you could get from it, like a crazy amount. It was like a no-brainer that it was going to be the best thing. They nerfed it big time. Now it's like, 7,000 crit, and it's not quite as much. But I want to point out that it is one of our only minute and 30-second trinkets in the entire rotation. Most of these are 2 minutes, which doesn't really line up with us well. I mean, we may use it with like a recklessness reset, but as far as lining it up with like a full avatar window, we don't really have any of that. You'd either have to hold it or line it up with like every 3 avatars. So with that being said, the crit's still good. It still does pretty decent AoE damage. I haven't gotten to actually test this in a key since they nerfed it. But I still like that you'd be able to use it with every avatar. Still gives you the crit strike. And with that being said, I want to put it here in S tier above Netherprism. Although they're a close tie there for S. I still like the Cursed Stone Idol because for people that want to play with an on use that's going to help you get like a big nuke on your cooldowns, that's going to be pretty much like your only real go-to that's going to line up throughout an entire run. Okay, so next we're going to talk about this ticking sack of terror, or as I like to call it, the tickling sack of terror. This trinket, basically you have a chance, it gives mastery, and you have a chance to attach a satchel to your target, and then when you hit 3 stacks, it just like explodes and does damage. I could see this one in raid maybe being okay for single target, like in a pure single target, because I just don't know the proc rate for the stacks and how often you're exploding them. The damage didn't seem terrible, but in a Mythic Plus setting, I don't think it's going to be good at all. I didn't get this as a drop, so I didn't get to try it. It comes from Tazavesh Streets, I believe the postmaster, so the mail guy. I'm going to place it in C tier here. I would like to test this some in raid to see how it is, but even then, I think there's going to be other options that are better. So we're just going to leave this one in C. Okay, next we got the Mind Fracturing Odium. So with the Mind Fracturing Odium, basically you have a chance to get a stack of like getting your mind getting your mind torn at, and as you get 10 stacks, you like just succumb to it and you get a lump sum of haste. And then if you kill something or one of your allies die, you get that haste straight away, so you don't have to wait for the 10 stacks. So I didn't test this one throughout an actual run. On the target dummies, the haste procs felt pretty good, decent. But in Mythic Plus, when things are dying like over and over and over, I kind of like the idea of that tearing at your sanity and giving you this haste like nonstop. But I don't know how it'll shake out compared to some of the other trinkets. I'll have to wait and see some of the sims. But as far as the way the tooltip reads and how it felt on the dummies, adding in when enemies are dying around you, tearing at your sanity as well, I actually want to put this one in B tier. I do like the sound of it, and it seems like it could be a pretty competitive one, just depending how it performs throughout an actual key setting. All right, next we're going to talk about Araz's Ritual Forge. This drops from the raid. It is a 2-minute, it's got crit as a secondary stat, and then it's like a 2-minute strength nuke for 30 seconds that decays, and it doesn't decay super fast. Like, I think when it was at 15 seconds, I still had 27,000 strength, so it lasts with a decent amount of strength throughout your whole most of your avatar window, which is nice. Problem with this is it's a 2-minute cooldown. If it was a minute and 30, I'd be all over this thing. Like, yeah, it's great. Even if it was a little bit less primary stat, but a minute and 30 seconds, I'd be like, yeah, send this thing. It's sick. But the 2 minutes makes it hard to line up. You can use it with a Recklessness window that will also, when you use Recklessness, you get Avatar. So technically you're using it with like a light cooldown set. But it just doesn't feel, it feels clunky trying to use it. I will say at the beginning of dungeons, when you use this on the first pool with lust and everything, it's like pumping. Sometimes I've pulled, above 30 million DPS. It does some good damage, but it's just about lining it up. So with this one, I want to place it in B tier. It's good. A little annoying to line up, but when you are able to line things up, it performs. So, okay. Next, let's talk about Screams of a Forgotten Sky. So this one comes from the final boss of the raid. This is a crit strike secondary stat trinket. And basically you have a chance, I'm just going to read the tooltip on this one because I'm still like understanding it, but basically you just have a chance to hit the enemy that you're targeting with a comet pretty much, and then it just deals damage, and then it increases the damage of future comets by 5%. So they kind of like stack up, and then when the enemy dies, it explodes and deals increased damage per gravity stack. So based on how much you stacked up on it, it'll explode and hurt everything around it for that much. And then based on how many enemies there are in the pack, it will do even more damage. So this one's interesting. I ran a dungeon with it and it felt really good. But the issue that I had was that the passive, like the gravity comets, did like 0.7% of my damage, which didn't seem like all that much. So I like the crit strike secondary stat part of it. I don't see the passive damage coming through. It's just not performing there. So I want to put it in low B tier. I may just need more testing with it. Again, none of this is based off of any kind of sims. I haven't run any sims. I just, based off my own experiences, it's just okay. It's just okay. So we will have to keep watching out for this one. Next will be the Eradicating Arcanocore. So this one basically, it's another like proc chance. You have a chance to get stacks of something, and then at 10 stacks, you just like blast the target. And if it's only one target, then you get 2 stacks back. So every 10 stacks, you blast, and then it does split damage based on how many people are there. Like it'll do split damage, but increase based on how many people are there. Or if it's one target, when you hit 10 stacks, it'll blast them, give you back 2 stacks as a refund because it was only one target, and then do it every 10 still. So with that being said, I want to put this one in lower B. So again, this one's strength. It drops from the first boss, so it's going to be early available. Like you'll get it pretty quickly if your RNG is good off of the first boss. I think single target, this is going to be one of our better trinkets, maybe A tier, but for Mythic Plus, I don't know how it's going to perform. Not getting the refund on charges because it won't be single target very often may make the proc rate not really enough. It didn't seem like it stacked up far too much when I was testing it on like the test dummies. So single target, I think with that 2-stack refund seems really interesting. But multi-target kind of just meh. So I'm just going to do lower B tier here to play it safe, and we'll see how it performs as we go. Okay, next we're going to get to our tried and true. Many of you are familiar with this. It's the improved, well, it's not improved, improvised Seaforium Pacemaker. So basically with this trinket, if you're unfamiliar, is when you first go into a pack, it's like every minute, your first ability causes you to explode, and then you just, as you are doing your rotation, you just keep exploding, and you get crit strike for 15 seconds. And then as you keep exploding, you increase by 1 second each time, which extends it up to a total of 30 seconds of this crit strike buff. So you could do it every minute. It procs for 30 seconds total, and which basically lines up with like all of your recklessnesses or avatars. It's very nice. This trinket is like a no-brainer. Gotta use it. It's fantastic. So we are going to place this in S tier here, above Idol and Netherprism. It drops from Operation Floodgate, which is in the dungeon pool, so you can farm that out to get this as soon as possible if you don't have it from this tier already that we're in. Next is going to be the Void Touch Fragment. So Void Touch Fragment, first of all, it just got nerfed. The scaling got nerfed. So we got an item level jump here recently. This one, I believe, drops from a delve. And when they increased the item level, they realized that, oh, this thing's scaling kind of like crazy, giving a lot of mastery, I believe is what happened. And so they nerfed that scaling a little bit. With that change, this will be a good trinket that you may just happen to get when you're doing whatever delve weeklies they have going on. And it'll be valuable in that aspect. Like, it's not terrible. But the way that this trinket works is, as you're in combat, you get stacks up to 15 fragments, basically. And then at 15, you get like a lump sum of mastery all at once for 10 seconds, just 10 seconds. So first thing I'll say is you have no control over when it procs. So when you hit 15, it's giving you the 10 seconds, even if you're leaving combat, even if you just finished your cooldowns, period. Like, you don't use it. It's not a use. It's just, it gives it to you. Second thing is it stacks actually really quickly, which you would think would be a good thing, but it stacks so quickly that you just get it at the most random times, and it ends up feeling not so great. So in my testing, I thought this one was feeling good, but I especially with the changes to the scaling, I'm not that big of a fan of it. It is a strength stat trinket, and then gives you mastery for that 10 seconds every 15 fragments. And it's just the inability to control when it happens, and also just how short of a time frame is the 10 seconds. It just if it was 20 seconds maybe, where you get it and so you're hurrying to like farm back, oh shoot, I got recklessness coming up in 8 seconds, like let me hit some more rampages and send it, and then you have it, would be great. But 10 seconds, you hardly have time to, like, you really just got to do planning like crazy. Oh, I'm about to hit 15 stacks, I better hold my cooldowns for a second so I can whatever. So with this one, I want to place it into upper C tier, and we'll just see how it performs. Again, it's from a delve, so I don't expect this one to be like top dog anyway. But I wish the effect worked a little bit better for us. I'm sure there's some like classes and specs that are gonna really like it. I just didn't like it too much for Fury. Okay, so now we have Ara-Kara's Sacbrood. So this is a haste secondary stat trinket. It comes from Ara-Kara, City of Echoes, which is in the Mythic Plus dungeon pool. Basically, you have a chance to like release an egg that's going to give you primary stats, some strength. It's like 2,700 strength or something like that at 710, I believe. And then after a minute, the eggs hatch and they do damage. Like, it's like 300,000 damage over 8 seconds from like these little spiderlings or whatever that attack. The haste feels great. The uptime is like, I believe it's like 70% of this trinket. It's like always, just like Pacemaker, which also has high uptime, it's always like active. It's just popping off throughout the whole dungeon. It feels really good. It does a pretty good percentage of your damage. This Sacbrood is definitely going to go into S tier here. I love Sacbrood. I got it as a drop. I've been playing with it nonstop on the PTR. It feels amazing. So definitely something you're going to want to look into getting. Next, we have the Void Pactstone. So Void Pactstone is just that you have a chance to do a amount of damage split between targets, and then it gives you a lump sum of haste. And then if you die, you just do a big explosion. So first things first, as warriors, we should just never really be dying. We're super beefy. It's just not something that should happen. So that can just be like, just cut this part here out. Don't need it. As far as the on equip you, like the passive here, the damage is not really anything wild. It's decent, but it doesn't add up to anything crazy. And then the haste is nice, but I need to see the proc rate. I didn't get this one as a drop. It comes from Dawnbreaker, but I believe when Dawnbreaker was in the rotation, this wasn't really that good of a trinket for us. So going off of all those things, I'm going to place this in mid C tier here. All right, and then lastly we got Soulbinder's Embrace. This one's gonna be pretty quick one. You activate a soul shield, it kind of does like a shockwave in front of you and does some damage, and then it reduces your damage taken by 50% for 20 seconds or until you take a certain amount of damage. It gives you strength. This trinket is just like, maybe it'll be good for tanks. I don't think so, all the tanks I've talked to, but it's technically available to us too. I'm just gonna say don't use this trinket. The damage is basically nothing, and the damage reduction is basically pointless for us because we don't have that issue. So as a summary here, let's take a look at what we got. I'm gonna put this out now, and things can change in the future, so it may be completely different a week from now, 2 weeks from now. But Pacemaker and Sacbrood are a fantastic combo, and I think it's our no-brainer go-to. But if you want a 1 minute and 30-second on cooldown like pump trinket to help you really up your big damage on CDs, you might want to try out the Cursed Stone Idol. And then Unyielding Netherprism is also a fantastic way that you can pump up your cooldown damage if you want to opt that out for like Sacbrood and use that instead. I think Pacemaker is kind of locked in at this point, but you could try any mix of these, and I'm sure they're going to give you some pretty good results. But this is what I have. Take this all with a grain of salt. I did not do any sim testing. I don't know what the robots have been saying, but this is from my own personal testing and also just going off the tooltips. I hope you all enjoyed, and like, comment, subscribe for more content, and let me know what y'all think. See you for the next video. I'll be coming out with a Fury Warrior guide for 11.2 here shortly before the patch drops. And let me know where you place some of these, if you agree with me or disagree. Thanks so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.